Something you said that struck me is you can get the head of Google, you can get the head of Salesforce. They got the head of X and until they didn't. So Elon Musk was supposed to be there. Now he's not
I
speaking on
know.
stage. Can you talk about that and what has been the reaction to that?
Well, great disappointment, of course, because there were a lot of people who were really looking forward to a Mark Benioff interviews Elon Musk. The talk is that he dropped out. I think he may well have been slightly pushed out because of these. Essentially, what happened was there was an anti-Semitic tweet. I still call them an X, is that what we're supposed to call them? And Musk responded, "I agree." So what I would have preferred, of course, would have been if Benioff had put him on stage and asked him about that, because that would have been interesting to get his reaction. But no, it's disappointment. Now Benioff is interviewing John Kerry, who's already spoken here, and it's not quite the same. So that's disappointing. I think there's disappointment because Xi Jinping, typically the leaders of the biggest economies, give a speech. He did not give a speech here. A lot of the Chinese companies are very upset about that, of course, because that's a big deal. But I think there's also excitement that there's this meeting with Biden and Xi, and this sense that at least they're talking, at least in a world that's going crazy, with what's happening in Israel, what's happening in the Ukraine, that at a time when so much is unpredictable, that the US and China are talking again. And I think that passes for good news in this environment.
I do want to talk about China in just a moment, but first, can we focus on President Biden's speech? He recently made remarks. Can you discuss and dive a little deeper into the substance of his conversation?
Yeah, I think that certainly part of what he was talking about is what his administration has accomplished, and that's very much for the hometown crowd. I think there was an acknowledgement of the importance of the Asia Pacific region to the US and the US to that region. But I think the substance and the most important part of his comments were with regard to China and the idea that to communicate again on a military basis so that there's no miscommunication in times of trouble. That's very positive. The idea that there will be more communication around trade, AI, important issues like drugs, of course, because fentanyl's been a huge issue here in the US. So that's very positive. And then he made it very clear that to be careful when it came to talking about things like human rights, IP protections, a lot of the things that have been a great concern to business, and also an understanding that a lot of these economies, huge economies like Indonesia, are going to forge their own relationship with China and their own relationship with the US. So I think he was taking a very measured approach, very positive. I can tell you, I asked a few people on the way out who I've met here who are from places like China, and one of the things they're very cognizant of is that we're going into an election year, and the last time President Trump was here, he basically came to APEC, said, America first, we like bilateral relations, and goodbye. So they're very aware there could be another president waiting in the wings who has a very different view of all this.